I could start the show by singing Come Mai. But I can't. I'm a Juve
How
fan.
do I exit here? No.
I can't. You know, we got
Champions League 2, non la vinci mai.
We got the two horsemen of Champions League finals lost now. Here on the Calcio guys, Adriano, Gianni, and Nicholas, joined by Gianmarco, also known as SauceGMP on Twitter from Interviews Podcast. Gianmarco or Gianni, whichever one you want to go by.
Whichever you want.
Not Gianmarco tonight. Gianmarco tonight.
Today.
Yeah.
I know I learned the hard way. I'm the second Johnny on Twitter. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, everyone addresses you as Johnny as well too, so don't worry about it.
So first I would say, how's it going? And then are you okay from Saturday?
I mean, it's going good with everything else that's not interrelated. When it comes to the club that I love, it's been a tough, 96 hours, however many hours it's been since the loss. Obviously, the most embarrassing defeat. I to be quite honest, I don't know why I didn't turn the game off sooner. I wanted to suffer through that for some reason, but tough loss, and obviously I got to take it on the chin for all the banter I had on Twitter. So.
But it's for me, it just seemed like uncharacteristic for Inter. You know, like it didn't seem like, you know, like this is what they normally like. This is how they normally perform. And like one player that did stick out a bit to me that really obviously had a terrible start was Di Marco. I mean, if you want to have the next like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to vent about Di Marco, go ahead.
Yesterday, me and Alessandro had a pretty big vent sesh about him and amongst, other things in that game. I've said that I think that this cements that he shouldn't be a starter going forward. He has to earn his way back in. And if I'm, Spalletti, I'm not starting him in a must-win game against Norway like that. There's no way I would risk any chance of advancement with him playing in a back four. So yeah, I mean. Elementary school mistakes, right? Like just the way he got pulled out of position in that first of all, he's so far back, it makes no sense why he's literally keeping guys on side for 10, 12 yards. And then to pull away from Hakimi the way he did, just leaving him completely unmarked, not saying a word to your other, center backs who are nearby, that's inexcusable. And then, I mean, a thing that I've always had a problem with him is the way that he does press or lack thereof. He drops off his man. He just puts his arms behind his back and thinks that that's enough to defend. I don't know if he's afraid that if he closes the gap there, that he then allows the attacker to blow right past him, because he isn't the quickest player on the pitch, but you cannot be giving acres of space for forwards of that level to be able to run into, because they will take advantage of it and they will beat you. And it's unfortunate. I would have hoped that by now he would have learned from those things, but still making those mistakes, and it's inexcusable at this level.
It's crazy too, because Di Marco, and we just recorded our team of the season part of the episode tonight as well, and it just I can say for Theo Hernandez, didn't have his season of old, and the drop off there. But for me, Di Marco, another one. It's crazy. I know he had good moments, throughout the season, but this business end of the season where I guess you can say it counted the most. The drop off for me, it's incredible. Yeah. And this is a guy that we, people were saying, best left back in the league, best left back in the world, and up for those type of titles. And for me, it's a shame, because I still think there is something for him to give, but if you're making mistakes like that, and again, Gianmarco, we'll let you dive in deeper to the whole match, but because I don't think obviously it was just on him the whole thing. I think two goals were, but the second one, unfortunate, the deflection. I mean, that could happen to anybody. You mentioned how he defended. I get that point, but it just, for me, crazy to see how he kind of dropped off when it mattered the most for Inter. But just to dive in more into the game, and the 5-0, the worst defeat in Champions League history, the whole 9 yards, right? It just didn't go well from, I would say, in my personal opinion, from minute 1 to minute 90, whatever it was, right? So it was a 90-minute disaster class for this Inter, and it's not taking shots. It's just being being real on what the situation was, right? So, I guess that question to you is just for you, what went wrong as a whole, and if who's to blame, or where you want to maybe put this blame, or just what ended up going wrong for this Inter that not even from minute one it seemed to be going right in this match.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that me and Alessandro disagreed on last night when we were going over it, really.
Okay.
It's come out now now today. I don't know how true it is. Again, I'm just going based off what I've read, but it appears that Inzaghi had let the team know before the game that he was going to be leaving for Al Hilal. Don't know if that's true, but based on the way that they played, I think that might be true. If you tell your team, and listen, he may have thought he was doing the right thing, right? Letting it be known maybe before rumors were spreading and stuff. He probably thought that it was best for it to come from him and let his players know. But I think a game of that magnitude, I think it's a pretty risky move to inform your team of that, if that is in fact what happened.
Sure.
And that's what I was saying to Alessandro. I thought that's the only thing that would have made sense to me, for them to come out this flat and this, lacking of effort and heart, whatever else you want to call it, to put in a performance like that, where it seems like everybody, I think only Bastoni really can, and maybe Zalewski, who came in later, but are the only guys who could really walk off that pitch with their head held high, knowing that they literally did everything that they could. But everyone else seemed to have played, almost as if they were already defeated before the game even started. And Barella said it after the game that, they didn't play with any heart. And I'm glad that he admitted that. But I also think that, how do you not have any heart knowing this is the Champions League final, whether your manager is leaving or not, and if he told you or not, play for yourselves, play for the crest, play for whatever. Like, you don't have to play just for your manager. And it's disappointing on a lot of levels. Of course, it is embarrassing. I mean, you never want to be a part of history. And Nicholas, you did a good job of copying my tweet after that loss. So yes, we were part of history, just not the way I wanted it to be. But it was just an embarrassing defeat, and to allow something like that to affect the game, I think. Listen, on the human aspect of things, I understand it being, it can weigh on you and definitely could change your excitement or motivation to some degree. But I also, as the fan, it's like, you can't let that happen, guys. Like that's how I feel. And, I just wish maybe he would have, done what Mourinho did, which was, kind of let it be known after the match, even if the rumors were coming out, right? Like, obviously we heard about the offer, but we didn't know if there was anything going to come from it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell your team, I think that's a crazy time to do it.
I have to agree with you. If it is like right before the big match, that's not something you should bring up. But that's why it's like, I feel like he's so, like, I don't think he would be far-fetched enough to do that. Like silly enough to do that, to do something.
I would hope not, but
I mean, like, I feel like it's such a big, like, pulling the rug from underneath them type of move to do that especially right before a game. I don't think you should be saying anything like that. So that's why I find it's a bit weird that, there's talks of it happening, because it's really hard to believe, because it seems very unprofessional, in my personal opinion.
I mean, it could very well just be, just Twitter rumors like they tend possible to be.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine it, but then just, again, like I said, like, just seeing the display and the performance that was out there, it kind of makes sense to me. Now, I mean,
for me, just to echo off. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Just to echo off to that, like, if you can't show up for a Champions League final because your manager told you, guys, next season I will not be coming back, I will not be part of this team anymore. I don't know, but shouldn't that wake you up even more to end this off on a positive note? Like, for me, and again, we're rival fans. We're all rival fans of Inter tonight, right? So there's no well, whatever it is, right? But just to play, just to call it what it is, like, for me, that is crazy. And if that again, the big if is what you said, Gianmarco. If that is true. We don't know that to be true, so we're going to continue on, the if. But for me, that sounds crazy to me. Say fatigue say the strenuous season, because that's what my next kind of point to you, Gianmarco, was going to be like, do you think it had to have been some sort of fatigue, them losing the Scudetto to Napoli, the weighing pressure of from treble to 0 titles at the end of the season? Like, for me, it has to be more than, again, this big if Inzaghi says,
sure.
yeah, guys, I'm not going to be here next season. Like, do you put any truth to that, or what are your thoughts on that, Gianmarco?
I mean, 100%. Like, I think that we're getting out of hand with the amount of games that these players play.
That's
like, if you think back, like, to when we were
COVID season.
I mean, yeah, COVID season, but then I'm talking about even further back, like 2006, 2007.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
I was looking it over. The most games they played were 42. I'm sorry, looking at Inter players was the most I think I saw then was 42. Now you got Barella playing 59. Like that's an insane amount of games to play, and that's not even including the games that he's probably going to play now for the qualifiers, and if he has to go to the Club World Cup, which I don't know. I mean, I know you said we're going to probably talk about that too, but I hope a lot of these like key players don't come for that. I really do. I mean, you need to be able to give these guys a proper rest if you want to be competing for anything next season. And obviously now with the uncertainty of who's going to be the manager at Inter, I'm worried, are we going to be able to compete for top 4, let alone like actually trophies, you know? So if you don't give these guys a proper, you know, summer to be able to refresh and recharge when, you know, all these guys have played, whether it's European championships, World Cup, Copa Americas and stuff like that. Like it's now been 4 straight seasons though that they're saying that Barella's going to play over 58 games. That's insanity, you know, like, and he looks exhausted. He really does. You know, I mean, banter aside with the hair, like he just looks like an old man now. Like just,
for sure.
He could barely.
That's the 4 kids.
It could be the 4 kids for sure, but then only being 27, you know, 28 now.
Barella has 4 kids.
Yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure he has 4 kids.
I'm pretty sure
he has 4 kids.
What? His wife's older than him too, I think.
Mika, good for him. Fuck.
He pulled a MILF at like 23, I think.
The guy knows what he's doing. Like,
God bless.
Go back to the sunglasses pick with the
buzzed out of his mind.
But yeah, he's you know he needs a chance to recharge. Like he, in my opinion, and people might disagree. You know, who are Interisti, I think he's the most important player on the team. We go as
Barella.
Yeah, like if he is, and if he's not playing at his best, I don't think the rest of the team is able to play to their best, unfortunately. And I mean, you saw it the second half of the season. The guy looked exhausted, and I kept making excuses like, "Oh man, he just needs a day off. He needs a day." We didn't give it to him, and then you know, look at what he does in the final. I think he plays probably his worst game in intercolors. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that the length of the season, you know, losing the Coppa Italia semifinal, you know, tied to Milan in that fashion, that's got to be defeated. Forget about the tie itself. The mental aspect of being beaten by a team that, listen, no offense to Milan, they were an inferior team last year, but when they played Inter, they were unbeatable. It was like a different switch came on, and every player in that locker room. I mean, you could have had me coaching Milan, and they would have been, you know, able to beat Inter with the way that they came out and the mentality that they showed, and that's got to be disheartening. Losing the Scudetto the way that they did, you know, I mean. Listen, we can point fingers at this referee decision, that referee decision, whatever. At the end of the day, you have to win the games on the pitch. You can't, if you leave it in the hands of a referee, it's never going to go the way that you want. I don't care what team you support. That if you're banking on that, it's not going to play out the way you like. The draw against Lazio, unfortunate, you know. I mean, but listen, Napoli also had to do their part, right, to win the games that they had, and they just happened to get one more point than we did. And, you know, it's hats off to them. Another, you know, I'm not going to be like Nima and say that, you know, this is Conte's masterpiece, but he did do an incredible job with what he had. Of course, you know, it's nice to have money to be able to spend in the transfer market. I wish that we could experience that at Inter one day. You know, that'd be lovely. But, you know, you lose 2 things like that when, you know, obviously the talk is treble. Now all you have is the Champions League. I mean, I'm sure pressure got to them a little bit in some way, but there, like you said, there is no excuse. You have to show up and play play for your teammates, your colors, the fans, whatever you want to call it. Because if you're only relying on a manager to motivate you, that's kind of crazy in my opinion.
In the wrong business.
Yeah.
But that's like that's why I like to talk about back to just to quickly just comment on the Napoli thing. I think it's more like the fact that it's like Napoli got to the position of third because they used to buy low, sell high, and they had to build up from the ground up. There was the Napoli of today does not have the same buying power. The Napoli of 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago does not have the same buying power as the Napoli of today. So it's just also the fact that it's like, look, if you look throughout history, I mean, Inter had those periods where they're just able to buy anybody that they want. And, I guess it just ebbs and flows. And especially being one of the big three, it's going to flow back into Inter's favor eventually one day in terms of being able to have that purchasing power. But one thing I think you touched upon, and I think might be the main point of this, and this is not me trying to kick a man when he's down and stuff, but I think Inter had that lack of a killer instinct. I think this Inter squad, as good as it was, it just seemed like that this year there was just no killer instinct. Nobody gave a fuck. Like in terms, I'm not saying the players are not like, oh, whatever, they're all. But it's just when it came to crunch time, it just didn't seem like anybody was capable of, fuck it, guys, let's tie up the laces, let's tighten the pants, and let's go for it, and. It's easy to say when you're looking from the outside in, because it's like but you just pinpointed so many key aspects and key moments, and you lose in the Coppa Italia semifinal, you lose the Scudetto on the last day, even though you guys are playing in 3 different competitions. That performance in the Champions League final was just, for me, that was uncharacteristic of Inter. I know obviously rival fans are gonna have a field day with it, but I myself as a neutral opposing fan, I actually wanted Inter to win. I didn't want PSG to win because I didn't want Kvaratskhelia to be rewarded for leaving the middle of the season. But especially in a championship season, if Napoli was in 10th place again or 8th place, whatever the fuck, okay, I understand. But anyways, I didn't want it to be rewarded for that. But also the fact I'm Inter is one of the best defensive-minded teams. Their system's been great. A couple of years ago when they played City in the finals, they held a very offensively strong City. And this was Haaland, the destroying EPL type of City to a 1-0 game, and that one goal took a deflection off a hip to go in. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like they lost that killer instinct. I don't think they were capable of doing that.
No, that's a great shout. Honestly, I mean, we've said that on the podcast throughout the season. Last season, when we clinched it in April, we didn't matter who we were going up against. We went out to win every game. And we wanted to be ruthless in front of goal. We would score. And then even if we were, tied, we would get all these late winners, because there was a never say die attitude last season. I don't know where that went this year. On paper, a lot of us fans at least thought that, by adding a guy like Zielinski, adding a guy like Taremi, those would be upgrades on what we had last season. Both those guys really, Zielinski was more so injured than really performances. When he did play, I had zero problems with him. But Taremi was a colossal flop. And when you have, a lack of depth, and I'm, again, not trying to make excuses for this team and their performances, but when Thuram and Lautaro went down and you had to bring in Arnautovic or Taremi, none of them were able to play at the same level that those other players, were playing at. When, Hakan went down for a little bit and Aslani had to step in, one of the biggest myths, in my opinion, was the depth that Inter have. And if you look at the substitutions that Inzaghi made in the final, it was all defensive. He had no faith in the forward depth to be able to bring them on to try to get something back. And, Fratezi's not happy, with not being brought on. But in my opinion, you're great at scoring goals, but in the build-up to get those goals and chasing the game, you're useless. That's my biggest knock on Fratesi, is that he's just not able to do anything else except get in the box and score timely goals. If we need you to help drive play forward, you're just not going to be able to do that. He played a game this season, 82 minutes. He attempted 6 passes all game. What midfielder do you know only attempts 6 passes in 80 plus minutes? That's unheard of. And he only completed 3 of them. So it's you're just not going to be able to help us out like that. And it's unfortunate, that these we had to lean on the same really starting 11 and maybe 12 if you want to include Bisek, who would rotate in for Pavard, and vice versa. actually, and no disrespect to Carlos Augusto, yeah, him too. So maybe 13 players that you're able to rely on. But after that, it's it was kind of tough to be able to have the same impact that we had last season. And I think fatigue along with health. Last year, we were very healthy and very lucky that our core was able to play the entire season. Really, this year injuries kind of took its toll and kind of caught up. And you could see that we are the oldest squad in not only Serie A, but we were the oldest team in the Champions League as well. And I think age kind of showed that it's catching up to a lot of these players.
Back to the game itself. Obviously, not a good start, right? 12th minute, Hakimi, former Inter player, doesn't celebrate. Well, first, I had two questions. So first, what did you think of the exaggerated no celebration? Because for me, I think like things like that, it's a bit performative, right? It's like, okay, you don't want to celebrate, but even just putting your hands up, it's a celebration. Dude, it's a Champions League final. Celebrate. You played for Inter for one season 4 years ago. Celebrate. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I mean, listen, I think he was just being respectful. I think he knows that he left in a good terms. Like the fans still love him. He's always said he wished that he would have been able to stay. He just understood that financially he couldn't, or we couldn't keep him really. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think anything of it, to be honest. Like I kind of just appreciated it. But yeah, like I get what you're saying, that it was kind of like performative, like, hey guys, look, I'm showing you respect. Like, let me, can I celebrate a little bit? Are you gonna get mad if I do? So I get where you're coming from in that aspect, but I don't know. Didn't think anything of it. As soon as I saw him kind of start wandering into the box, my immediate thought was it would be him that's gonna score. And he did get like probably the easiest tap-in of tap-ins with a perfect pass that he was given by Doué. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I just wish it wasn't him, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, maybe I'm just overthinking it, but yeah, what I wanted to ask you, what point did you realize the game's out of hand? The game's done, or what? At what point do you think Inter realized that?
I think at 2-0. I think once they got that second one in that manner, I know Barella was trying to shield the ball and keep it from, to be able to get a corner there. Once, I don't even remember who it was now, I think it was Nuno Mendes who came around him though and kind of kicked it forward and was able to start the counter. And I saw that there was that much space for them to be able to run into. I kind of said, oh man, they've got us like just in shambles right now. We're unable to stay organized in any way, shape, or form. And listen, hats off to Luis Enrique. Like, in my opinion, and it's not even because of this game, but I always thought that he was a better coach than Pep Guardiola. I thought that what he was able to do with Barcelona, with the Spanish national team, now what we're seeing obviously with PSG, the guy can take players and turn them into like just world beaters. Like he's just a phenomenal coach. And what he was able to do with that forward line, which on paper, people may say, oh, the Barcelona team, has better forwards. And like you would think like, oh, we should be able to handle PSG because we were able to kind of keep Barcelona in check. But the way that these three, Kvara, Dembele, Doué, and even Barcola, when he's on the pitch as well, the way that they're able to interchange and just play off one another, incredible. And he was able to lure Acerbi out of position multiple times to then be able to give space in the middle and stuff. Like, just an incredible game plan to take on obviously Inter. And I just think that once they got that second one, they were able to cruise the rest of the way. And you saw the second half how that turned out for them. And I think maybe like when we didn't score at the end of the first half, when Thuram had that corner that just went a little wide, I think that was kind of like, yeah, if we're not getting it here, we're not going to be able to get it at all, unfortunately.
Now, what do you think Inter goes from here? Like, we were talking about it before, where now that Inzaghi's on his way out to Al Hilal, 25 million euros a year. What
can't blame him, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Stupid, eh?
Yeah, like no, he's not. It's just like you think about it, and it's like, wow, Allegri just signed for 5 million per year at Milan, and then it's like Saudi Arabia. It's like, yeah, fuck it, here's 25 mil. Yeah. Why? Just cause that's our fuck you money type of thing. so there's that. So now, obviously, rumors of Czech Fabregas probably being the next one up. There's rumors of that. They're looking interested in that. First of all, realistically, who do you think is the next one up, or who would feel would, or in your opinion, who would be better to be the next one up for Inter going forward? Because now there's no way to go but forward.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Fabregas is the only viable option, in my opinion. I mean, I know there's rumors of Vieira and Kivu. I don't think either one of them are ready to take this move to Inter. Especially, I'm not a fan of Patrick Vieira. I think he did a decent job with Genoa last season. I mean, but if you look at it, 8 wins, 9 draws, 9 losses, it's not really like exciting me. And then if you go look at his numbers though, with Nice, with NYCFC you could throw out as well, and I forgot the other club that he was at. It might have been I'm not even gonna guess, but not good numbers. He's been known to clash with like big stars, so I don't think that he would be able to come into Inter and do a job. Kivu, although he has the experience, having been at Inter as a player, having been the Primavera manager there, and now what he did with Parma, which one thing I do like about him is that he is able to make tactical changes on the fly, and the team responds to that and are able to implement those things. Like if you look, even a turning point in the Scudetto season for this year was the game against Inter. We were up 2-0 on them. He makes a few changes at halftime, subs in a few players. He brings in Bernabe, who was their best player, but he was trying to preserve him he was just coming back from an injury. Unlocks the game, 2-2 draw, like unbelievable. So there is potential there. I just don't want him to take the jump yet, because I don't want him to fail and then never be able to be afforded another opportunity down the line. So Fabregas is the one that I would want more than anyone available. Obviously, we missed the boat on names like Allegri or even maybe trying to sway Italiano to leave Bologna. I know Palladino's out there. I don't think that that's a name that they've even been interested in. I do like him, but Alessandro said it best last night that he hasn't gone through his Italiano phase, which by that he means where he struggles at a Fiorentina for a little bit, and then it clicks. Figuring out how to be able to be as attacking as they are, but also now implement the defensive side of things where you're not just, playing crazy suicide ball, up and down the pitch trying to score. And, a name that we've brought up too that could be a shout would be Mancini. If you're looking for someone to bring stability, I think that he would be good. He obviously has good relations with the players that were on the national team when they won the Euros. So, that's a name that would be interesting. Haven't seen it be rumored. So with that, I think Fabregas is the only one. The only thing that's confusing is the rumors that, Como won't let him out, but he wants to leave, but he also likes the project. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Di Marzio saying one thing, Pedula saying another thing. It's the typical, Mercato rumors, but I'm rooting for him. If not Fabregas, I think Kivu I would prefer over Vieira.
Personally, I find like a lot of those guys that we're mentioning here, like I don't know if they're like even Fabregas. Like I love what he's done. Obviously, we said it times on the show, and he's just been incredible. But again, him too. Like, is he actually ready for that next step? Like, Como's Piazza and Inter's Piazza, or that shirt, they way different. Is he really ready? Like, we saw the Thiago Motta disaster that happened when he finally made that premature jump, right? I would hope not for a guy like Fabregas, just because he's brought so much joy to a team like Como and just our league in general. But I don't know. Like Palladino, I like too. Like you said, there's even that Farioli, right? That left. What is it? Ajax, I think.
Ajax, yeah.
Right. So is another interesting name that hasn't touched Serie A yet. So. I would like to see if he comes around, but if anything, Mancini I think might be the more stable.
Without question.
Choice, right? Like just the experience, the know-how. He's been there before, right? He's coached Inter before, and just has that knack of building up the room and getting some decent results and going forward. Again, they're going to the Club World Cup, so I don't know again like how important and how much emphasis they're going to put on this. Personally, I don't think it's going to be very high or very much, in my personal opinion. But
I would agree.
you have to find a caretaker coach or some sort of manager to lead this fucking team in what 7 days? What is it? 10 days?
So I think they're flying out the first game. Well, the tournament starts in 11 days.
Okay.
So, but I think they start USA training on the 9th. So yeah, like 5-6 days or potentially. So
and then you have to get accustomed to this whole team, the whole locker room, the whole system, build it. Like this is like sounds impossible. This is mission impossible.
yeah.
And what I was going to ask is, do you think they'll get a new coach by then, or they're just going to find some caretaker?
So
That's
I mean,
the
they
point.
say that a deal will be in place by Friday for somebody. I don't know how true that is, but
They're going to hire you.
We're Wednesday, so we're Wednesday night. So I don't know.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm actually working on my coaching license, so let's go. Let's get me out there. But
Your thesis.
it's I'm nervous. I'm actually wondering, do I even want to go to these games? Like honestly, like is it going to be worth it for me? Is it just going to be an embarrassment where we just get smoked by Monterrey, who have really nothing to lose, right? They could throw everything at us, and are we just going to play all the Primavera kids and a couple of the players that we have sent out on loan in this? But yeah, if it's a caretaker manager, like what do? Do you just bring up your Primavera manager to have him run it for the meantime? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be an interesting competition here, and I'm nervous at what my experience is going to be like when I go to the game.